comments? Okay, in the back row.
Brandon Stoner, 30 Hemlock Road. Has anything been done with the burn ordinance as of yet? As far as being changed?
We have been looking at it.
Is it going to be changed for this meeting?
No, it's not.
Alrighty then. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'm
Okay.
on the thing.
Yeah. All right, thank you. We also have some people on the agenda. Chad Stoner first.
Chad Stoner, 910 Conewago Road. Last month's meeting, Brian Klinger voiced his opinion on what he sees going on here at this township. One of the things that he had voiced was that the right to knows, I guess he thinks that they're frivolous and they shouldn't be allowed, claiming that the Stoners, the Hahns, and the McCoys have cost this township over $9,000 in attorney fees in the first quarter. I don't know where he gets this idea, but I'd like to point a couple things out. Anne Bostic is our township manager. She's paid an annual salary of over $69,000 a year. Part of her job description is to handle the right to knows in this township. Albert Neufeld is second in charge when it comes to right to knows. Last reported, he made over $53,000 in annual salary. And as part of his job description, he's to handle these right to knows that are filled out with this agency. That's a combined total of over $122,000 in annual salary. That salary is going to be paid whether they do any right to knows at all or they do 1 million of them. Now, where I think the expense comes into is just like this big stack of papers that I have right here. This is a little over 4 right to knows that should have been able to be handled in probably about 6 to 10 sheets of paper. But it wasn't, simply because, could you hold that please? Rather than Anne Bostic or Albert Neufeld handling them, they were handled by CGA Law Firm. More specifically, this Michelle Pokrifka, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Tim Buck. So we're already paying over $122,000 in annual salaries. And 2 of those people that are paid that, their responsibilities are to handle them. But they're not. They're forwarded to CGA. And then it's kind of funny because as I flip through here, and all of these, which I believe there's 4 of them, when I get here to this page, it says, I, Timothy Buck, Esquire, in CGA Law Office, as the solicitor for Conewago Township, hereby declare, pursuant to section blah, 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 that the following statements are true and correct based upon my personal knowledge, information, and belief. And then it goes on to say, upon receipt of the request for information, I conducted a thorough examination of files in the possession, custody, and control of CGA Law Office as the solicitor for Conewago Township. So you're going to sit here and claim that we're the ones that costing you all the money, but it's really not us. Oh, look. Here's another one. You flip through it, it's the same thing. And here it's signed by Michelle Pokrifka of CGA Law, saying that apparently she wrote this up. But then you come back here and it says, oh, this is another one. It says, I, Timothy Buck. Hang on a minute. Let me get the one that says, I, Anne Bostic. Oh, look, another Timothy Buck. So now we're not only paying CGA Michelle Pokrifka to write up all this, we're also paying Timothy Buck to do the investigation on it. Here we go. I, Anne Bostic, Open Records Officer for Conewago Township, hereby declare, pursuant to section 4904, that the following statements are true and correct based upon my personal knowledge, information, and belief. Then it goes on to say, I am responsible for responding to right to know requests filed with this agency. Upon receipt of this request, I conducted a thorough examination of the files in the possession, custody, and control of the agency. So we're already paying over $122,000 in annual salaries to pay 2 people to handle these. It also says on here that in my capacity as the Open Records Officer, I am familiar with the records of this agency. So not only, and it's signed by Anne Bostic, not only is she saying it's my responsibility, but that she's familiar with how to do it. But she didn't. Michelle Pokrifka, Anne Bostic, and Tim Buck all had something to do with it. So not only are we paying over $122,000 in annual salaries, CGA Law Firm is billing us $150 an hour for 2 different attorneys to handle these. I don't know about you, but in my line of work, if I send 1 person, you're getting billed for 1 person. If I send 3, I'm getting billed for 3, and inevitably, it's going to make it cost a heck of a lot more. You also stated that you think since you took office here, you and the rest of your board members all do everything out in view of the public. Basically saying you had nothing to hide. You know, for somebody that doesn't have anything to hide, you sure are working hard to hide it. It's kind of like the police tell you when they show up and they say, if you have nothing to hide, then you wouldn't mind me looking, right? But funny story, through these right to knows, here's a right to know that I filed asking for the copy of the CGA Attorney expense report simply because I wanted to know where our tax dollars were being spent. And we got this big thing, redacted. Big chunks of it, all over the place. Big blacked out sections, redacted. File an appeal. Office of Open Records granted it to us and said, yeah, you can have it. And then, after getting it, here's some of the things that your money was being spent on. Here's a good one. I like this one. Meeting with Margaret Berg to understand right-of-way issue. Does anybody in here know who Margaret Berg is? Well, for those of you who don't, I'll inform you. Margaret Berg is a private citizen that lives at 850 Copenhagen Road who has nothing to do with township business. Yet, CGA Law Firm was billed by taxpayers for what? To give her legal advice on a right-of-way issue? The more disturbing part is somebody had to cut this check. Somebody had to approve of this billing. Here's one. Email with and telephone conference with Miss Bostic. 2 residents who like to shoot AK-47s, carry pistols, and wear flak jackets were cited by Northeastern Regional and the District Justice for burn ordinance and are now coming to the meetings to tell us how they feel about it. I was billed $150 an hour. So apparently, if anybody likes to shoot a gun, carry a pistol, or wear a flak jacket, that warrants CGA Law Firm to open up an investigation on you at $150 an hour. Here's another good one. Research regarding issue with Mr. Chad, who has come to our meetings with a gun and a Kevlar vest. $150 an hour. Oh, this is a really good one. Call the sheriff's office. Does Chad Stoner have a permit to carry? Those of you who don't know, I don't actually need a permit in the state of Pennsylvania to carry a gun. You can open carry, so that was completely frivolous at its finest because even if I did or didn't have a right or a permit to carry a gun, I could still carry a gun. So for Brian to stand up here and actually claim that it's the taxpayers filing right to knows that are costing us so much money, that's utterly ridiculous. And the fact of the matter is you people are condoning misappropriation of funds. And if you're really that worried about the $9,000 that was spent in legal fees, why are you not worried about the other wasteful spending that you approved the checks for? You care to answer that? No, I didn't think you would.
You need to direct your questions to the chair, please.
Actually, you know, I don't. Actually, I have the right to speak here however I want for 10 minutes. But if anybody doesn't believe me what I'm telling you, I have all the information right here. You're more than welcome to come look at it anytime you want. The fact of the matter is, these people are wastefully spending our money, and the problem is there's not enough people to stand up and make them be held accountable for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Steve Stoner.
Steve Stoner, 910 Copenhagen Road. I just want to say that at the last meeting, Brian Klinger felt it necessary to take a personal attack against my family and 2 other families within the township, saying that they cost him $9,000 in legal fees. Evidently, it didn't take very long for you to come up with that information. So therefore, I would like to ask you for all of the CGA Law Firm invoices for the past year. It shouldn't be too much because it didn't take you too long to find those. And also, on the township meeting minutes, it seems as though every time somebody from the board says something that's inappropriate or bad for your view, somehow or another it seems to get edited out of the minutes. I just find that sort of odd that some of that stuff that is being said, even though there is a recording of it, it doesn't get put into the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Just have a couple announcements to make. First of all, we had an executive session at 6:30 to discuss some legal matters and some personnel issues. Also, I wanted to thank the board and the employees and the residents that sent me cards and flowers during the passing of my sister. And I want to thank everybody. Okay, adoption of the agenda as prepared.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as pre-printed.
Do I hear a second?
I'll support it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?